Alright, hello guys. Today's gonna be a little different of a video, and it's actually gonna be on how I read level 2 and time and sales on a chart when I'm trying to buy or sell into a move, strength or weakness, depending on when if if the stock's flushing and I see level 2 with a huge seller, I see the time and sales going red. I'm gonna get out very quickly before I see the flush happen, and I'm gonna teach you guys how I do that for the most part. Even though I'm not the best at it yet, I'm still learning, and how I use it might benefit you guys as well. Um, if you guys haven't heard of my channel before, I've posted a couple of videos, and my name is Ishan, and I've been day trading for about 2 years, and I've made a couple of paper accounts which have done really well. However, I've not been able to find real good success in a real account, which is why I've started creating videos to keep myself accountable and to teach you guys as I progress through my career of trying to become a profitable trader. Now, this is a little different type of video. Like I explained, I'm going to be actually using a whiteboard, trying to teach on this. It's also a weekend, so you won't really see much data on here aside from actual trades which I've taken before. But let me try to explain what I see when taking a trade. Now I'm going to switch over to the whiteboard. So normally on a time and sales, or well, on a level 2, I'd have both an ask and a bid, and my eyes normally are focusing on the ask to see sellers. So on Webull, I believe there is no real difference in what shares are shown and how many shares are actually present. I know on Lightspeed, if it shows 20, you add a couple of zeros at the end for 20,000. Or I don't actually know what the scale is. I don't believe Webull has a scale. I know it's time and sales looks like it does, but it's platform for level 2 doesn't seem to have much of a scale. So if I see a 20,000 seller here, or 20,000 shares over here, I'm going to most likely try and sell unless it's a very powerful stock with a lot of volume. So if a stock with a low float, high volume is showing a 20,000 share seller up here, I might actually stay in if it's done multiple attempts at a double top. Maybe I could actually find a chart over here which could show that from maybe last week. I know we had a couple of stocks where there were these double tops which came into play. Like maybe this could be an example. I'm not too sure if it double topped much, but maybe this stock. Let me try to find it here. I'm just gonna switch over to the cam again for my. So over here, ISPC, a stock which made a pretty big move yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, I believe on Friday. And you could see over here, it had a topping tail. And then over here, as it came back up on a curling pattern, it ended up breaking. So the way you would know if it's breaking or not is either there's hidden sellers up there, or there's a visible seller on the level 2, where if you saw 20,000 shares over there, you would most likely try and sell, considering that it might not break, right? However, if I see the opposite on this side, on the bid, if I see 20,000 shares over here, I'm most likely also going to be buying because it looks strong, right? You'll probably have a number like, you'll have the price $4, $3.95. Let's say the spread would be, here, let's see, 401 or 405, and then you'll have $4 and spread between it 5 cents. I mean, pretty common to see that kind of spread on the stock. I mean, I wish I could pull up some videos. Maybe I have some clips. Let me actually pull one up from when I was trading, probably on Friday or a couple days before. Alright, so I actually found one from earlier. This is a stock, I believe, back in December. Went up almost 400-500%. It was CURR, and you could see the spread over here, about 2 cents, which is insane. Normally, this kind of tight spread doesn't happen. However, I mean, sometimes the spread is really important. If you see really high bids, like the other day, I saw a bid of $18 and then $23, or I believe it was It was at $12. It was at 8. Then the bid went to 12, and then right to 18, and you just saw the stock go from 8 to 12 to 18, just like that, and then it came all the way back down. Which sometimes it can be helpful to know if the stock's gonna go up really, really fast, to know different levels of resistance. But it's also helpful to know if a stock might have a lot of sellers, right? So if you see, it could happen exactly the same on the opposite side, on the sell side, where you could see stacked sellers or stacked buyers on the bid. Over here, you could see at $4.79, there's a 5,000 share buyer, or it could be a couple of buyers cumulative and makes up about 5,000 shares, right? And that shows confidence. That shows that I can buy over here, and if I really needed, I could sell about 10 cents lower at $4.79, which would be a good stop for me, right? Normally my stops are about 10 cents, and on a faster moving stock it might be maybe around 20. Considering the fact that I actually had $7,000 profit here, I would most likely be either holding or selling at that point, depending on how many shares I have. It looks like I have 40,000 shares though. So I could show what happens. Now look, at $5 you can see there's a seller, another seller at 5. Now watch, it broke. The seller broke. Now there's another 6,000 share seller, and that came up quickly as you guys saw, and the stock fell right back down. And then you watch for a second attempt. You see the buyer moved up, and now you can see $5 on the bid. Then you see 502, 503, and it's moving up. Shows that it's, and then you see a lot of green on the tape. Now you're seeing red on the tape, and let's just watch really quickly. Let's see, buyers up here, sellers. It looks like there's a hidden seller up here because you don't really see anything on the ask. However, it's still selling off considering the level of buyers is really high and the level of sellers is lower. And we're also seeing green on the tape. So there probably is a hidden seller considering it's still not breaking this level. Double top is up here. You can see there's a seller up here at 510. And it looks like there's probably a hidden seller up there as well. So you could use level 2 to figure that part out. It's still double topping at this level. Now it broke. And now you can see sellers thin out. Buyers come in. You see a lot of green on the tape. And the stock just keeps moving up. Now you can see different levels. So if it breaks 40, you go to 4 right there like that. If I were to slow this down, it'd be easy to see. So at 40, if you know it breaks 40, it's going to go to 41, 45, 47, 49. Next level of resistance is 50. Let's watch. Stronger stocks might just break right through. Right there. It broke to 48 like we talked about. And then instantly broke through the 50 level and went right up to 70 level, where 74 should be a level of resistance. But does it break it? Let's watch. It's coming back down a little. It seems like there's a seller up here. Now let's see. And this looks like a place people would take profit for the most part, right? As stocks just did a big breakout, you'd be taking profit up here. And that's exactly what I was doing as well. I was taking profit. I sold about 30,000 shares over there. Now you're watching the 1 minute pullback and you're trying to see if, so right there, I entered a 40,000 share position because I saw a 15-second pullback, and you're seeing reduced resistance here. You're seeing a big buyer at 540. So you're looking for a break of this level and it breaks. Now let's watch if this seller at 74 is still present. And it looks like the seller is still present. It looks like there's a hidden seller still sitting up there. And it looks like there's more selling volume coming into the sell side, on the ask side. It did break. However, like we said, 578 would be a level of resistance. And it exactly stayed as that way. The seller is up there and it fell and it broke down. So that's how you could use the level 2 as a way of knowing when there's either a big seller or a buyer, or where levels of resistance could potentially be. So I wouldn't have bought at 578 knowing that it might double top, considering it's extended. And on top of just extended, the part of it being extended, it had a seller over there which looked pretty big. Yes, there's a buyer at 550. However, that's where I would want to get closer to buying my own stock, buying shares, right? Around 550, or as it comes down to its, I believe that's its 9 moving average right there. And then the 20 is under there, and then it's 200. So, yeah, as it comes down to the 9 moving average, that's where I'd be more likely to buy. Or if it can hold up 550 on the half dollar, right? Half dollar, whole dollars are very important resistance points for stocks. So normally strong stocks might have less half dollar and more whole dollar resistance. As we saw in here, it just broke through the 550 level like that. That showed that this is very, very strong and it has a lot of momentum. However, it might have a lot of resistance at $6. So let's watch. Let's move forward a little when it breaks this level, because I know it goes up. Yeah, let's see. So like we saw right there at $6, it had resistance. Coming up to $6, it has resistance. You have an 8,000 seller at $6. So you want to be careful of buying up here, because it could fully do a false breakout and reject really hard. So as we see, it goes up to $6 and it rejects instantly because of the seller. You can see the selling is high on this area, and you have less buying volume. As it hits $6, which is a heavy resistance level, it falls right back down. This is an area, if you are more aggressive, you would want to buy on that pullback, and then you could get a nice extension up if you have conviction the stock will go up. You do have a lot more sellers over here, which shows that the stock might fall and might be getting ready for a pullback for something. It might be a pullback, right? If it keeps going higher, like there's more buying volume now, it's possible. Like this is a pullback, and then we have a 7,000 share buyer over here at 602. So that would be a good level of resistance. But let's watch what it does. Did it break? Yeah, it seems like it's breaking. So you could buy for the break and the extension. Again, that dip over here would have been really nice to get in on. You get a nice extension to 620. Would have been a good profit target over there, 20 cents. Or, again, this is going higher. Second green candle, and it looks like there is level of resistance at 30. So let's watch 32. It broke the level. Now 36 is a resistance level, like it shows, and now 650 is a resistance level. And let's see if it breaks 650. Again, like it was showing earlier, it was very, very strong at breaking $0.50, so it's possible that it might just break through. Which, it broke through, but it looks like it's holding resistance, and it held, and it went higher, again went up. Now 85 would be a resistance level. 80 was a resistance level, 81 was a resistance level, and then 85 broke at 85, it went to 87. Now let's see, 99, so $7 might be a resistance level now. Let's watch. So does it break 99? 99 would be a place I'd be taking more profit. It broke 99, but it fell right back down again, like we were watching over there. I didn't necessarily see, was there a buyer, seller at 7? Yeah, $7, huge seller. And again, it's falling back at $7. So over here, again, it's very extended, so buying over here wouldn't really be something I would suggest. Over here at $6, your entry would have been best. Over here and over here. Over here, just extended up at the top. And now you might be a buyer that might just end up getting the top of the candle. You might make profit here on this stock, but most times it might not work out in that case, right? And look, it just reverses here. And you can see how the sellers are really, really stacked over here. So you wouldn't want to buy this dip trade. At least I wouldn't buy this dip trade, considering it looks more like the backside now. Whereas buyers are really, really low. You have huge sellers up here. And you just want to be very, very careful with... over here, you could take a dip on the 9 moving average, but something moving this fast, it's possible that I could break the 9 moving average very, very quickly. Well, let's see. If it holds resistance there, it would be great. But yeah, look, it broke right through. It fell. Now, it might hold resistance? I'm not too sure. Again, it's a little less. I took a trade here on the dip, but that's because I had profit on the day already. However, if it's coming to your first trade, second trade, I would avoid taking that as a dip trade, especially with 20,000 shares. I'm not sure why I took that much size, but I guess it paid off on a day like this. Probably because it was a hot market at this time. On a cold market, you wouldn't even fill that much shares. It is much easier on a hot market though, where you have millions of shares of volume just coming in and out. And you get nice moves like this where it's like 40 cents. Right? Just $8,000 like that. And then you could, this could be nice for a new candle to make a new high. However, I don't think it breaks. I actually think it double tops up here and it falls back. This is powerful though. This is very strong. This would be a nice buy entry, I guess, at the dip as well. I would have waited for it to break the new high and then go up, which is exactly what it did. So me now would have waited. Then I guess I was more aggressive in trading stocks, so my risk was less calculated. So let's see. I guess I had a 40,000 share position here. Let's see, does it break? It looks like it does it doesn't break. Maybe it could be a good ABCD pattern, but it looks like it broke even below. And then on the 5-minute, you could also see it has 3 topping tails, and it's just choppy at that point. I would assume that the stock would be more choppy at this point. It looks like it is going sideways for the most part, but yeah, that's how I would use the level 2 in order to determine how and where to buy a stock, right? Now, back to the board. You also want to be careful about spreads. So spreads are important. So if this showed $4.50, right? If I'm buying on the ask, I'm down 50 cents on my position already, right? So I needed to have potential to go up to 450 and 5, maybe even 6 if I'm risking 50 cents. But normally I wouldn't. The most I would be normally willing to risk is about 15 cents, unless a stock has really, really light volume and they're moving really, really fast. Like you'll see stocks which have bids of, let's say, you'll see very light volume. You'll see like 100 or 200 shares up here, maybe 1,000 shares, right? 1,200. You'll have 18 over here. You'll have 14 over here. You'll have 12 over here. And then here, it will start lagging behind, where I don't really think I have examples of it, but it'll start lagging behind where the ask might not even be present. You might not even have a number for the ask. It might just be empty. Or it'll come in as 100 shares at 14. And then 14.50 up here. And then 14 here. And then just like that, bam, 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 you see the stock going like this. Just hitting all the numbers and just going straight up. Right to 18. You see this go out, and then you see 20, and then you see 25, and then you see 30, and it just keeps going straight up. We've seen that happen a few times. It happens rarely, but it happens. When it does, it's very interesting, and I mean, it's volatility. Can you get in and do anything with it? Yeah, but most times, by the time you're in, it could just fully reverse back because the volume is so light. And volume would be like 1,000 shares, 2,000 shares, maybe even 5,000 shares, which is considerably light considering most of these stocks which we like to trade have maybe a couple 100,000 shares per candle, right? I mean, even if we look at ISPC, this is after the open, right? However, let me actually just switch cameras again. However, you can see right here, just a random candle, green candle, 1 million shares of volume, right? And you go pre-market, you'll also see this had very light volume, right? Like this just went straight up. That's light volume. Over here, again, light volume, but you'll see candles like this where it has 35 shares of 1,000 shares of volume. That's again light, considering most of the stocks which have good potential have high volume. So WLDS, which went up to $10 the previous day. I mean, you could see a million shares, 2 million shares, 1.9 million shares, 2 million shares. This is pre-market. Pre-market shares at 2 million. This is after hours the day before. You still have 3, 4, 500,000 shares. That's a lot of volume. That shows confidence. People buy. Liquidity allows for volatility, right? When you don't have liquidity, like something like, let's just see this stock, whatever this stock is, right? You don't have volatility. You have no liquidity. You can't buy. You can't sell. Maybe here 8,000 shares, and then you have just jumping up and down small points. So again, level 2 is important to know liquidity, to know where stock stands at different resistance points, and its time and sales afterwards comes into play, right? Like I talked about earlier, green on the time and sales is important. The candle charts lag behind the time and sales. Time and sales is the most important thing, which is there with my ask on the level 2, right? The time and sales allows me to see if people are buying a stock or selling the stock. Green on the tape, good. It's useful for knowing when breakouts are going to happen. If you see green on the tape, it's really helpful to know breakouts. You take profit right as it breaks, right? And then you'll see red consistently right after that if it comes down. Or you take a small position off and then you ride the momentum, right? A lot of times in hot markets, that's what you'll do. You see a break, you take profit, and then you ride the momentum. You add back, you ride the momentum. Like that, you'd see that happen more and more in hot markets. Colder markets, you're looking at it to see if it's going to break or not. Most times I won't even take huge breakout trades for colder markets because normally they don't happen. You'll see bigger sellers. You'll see a lot more resistance on these stocks. And that's when time and sales comes in really, really handy to know if people are buying up the shares, right? If you see a huge seller on the ask, the time and sales will show you if the shares are being bought up, right? If it's being bought up on the bid, that's good. People are willing to pay more. If it's being sold on the ask or bought on the ask, it means people are not willing to pay as much. People are willing to wait for the stock to come down to their price. Right? People don't want to just get in. And when people want to get in, that's when you get FOMO. FOMO momentum is what gets us that level of volatility, that really fast momentum we like seeing. Anyways, that is my video on how I use the level 2 in my trading. Hope it's helped you guys, and hopefully you guys can see me use it more and more often throughout my videos that I create next. I know this video is a little longer, but thanks for sticking through it. Subscribe if it's helped you, and yeah, please watch more of my videos or just like this. It helps a lot, helps me continue trading as well. All right, thank you.